Okay, good evening everybody.
So, guten Abend jederseits.
Let's open with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
I want to thank you for all your blessings that you've put upon us during this day.
ich möchte dir danken für all die Segnungen, die du diesen Tag über uns gegossen hast.
I want to thank you for the chance that you are giving us to understand the Bible and to make a change in our hearts.
Ich möchte dir danken für die Gelegenheit oder die Möglichkeit, deine Bibel zu studieren, dass es eine Veränderung in unserem Herzen bringt.
That's why, Father, I want to ask you now that you please help us better to understand better thy way.
Und ich möchte jetzt bitten, lieber Vater, dass du uns hilfst, deinen Weg besser zu verstehen.
Help us, Father, to understand the sanctuary in a deeper sense.
Und hilft uns, dass wir noch tieferen Eindruck und Verständnis des Heiligtums bekommen.
So please come and teach us.
So bitte kommt jetzt und lehre uns.
Bless Brother Lawrence and bless also Brother Scott.
Please segne Bruder Lorenz und auch Bruder Scott.
And take care of the technique also, please.
Und habt bitte deine Hand über den Technik,
Bless all the brethren that are taking part in this study.
dass all diejenigen, die teilnehmen an diesem Studium,
Bless us as a class.
also segne all diejenigen, die teilnehmen an diesem Studium und segne auch uns als Klasse.
Help us to be attentive
Hilft, dass wir aufmerksam sind
and to be able to remind ourselves all the things that we already understand about the sanctuary.
und bitte erinnere uns an all das, das wir bereits über den Heiligtum gelernt haben.
May that this study will be a blessing for all of us.
Und ich bete, dass dieses Studium ein Segen wird für jeder einzelne von uns.
In Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay. Alright, so good evening once more.
So, guten Abend, ein weiteres Mal.
And this evening, as you can see, we will again look at the sanctuary.
Und heute Abend, wie ihr wohl sehen könnt, wir werden das Heiligtum weiter anschauen.
And the last 2 days or so, I was trying to really figure out, all these measurements and all these things, how the sanctuary is actually constructed.
Und über die letzten paar Tage, ich habe all diese verschiedenen Maßeinheiten versucht zu verstehen, wie das Heiligtum alles aufgestellt ist.
And eventually my goal is to, obviously, that we can be able to parallel the tabernacle, Solomon's temple and the temple of Ezekiel 46.
Und mein letztendliches Ziel ist es, dass wir die Stiftshütte, das Tempel von Salomo und das Tempel in die letzten Kapiteln von Hesekiel alle miteinander zusammenbringen können.
But this will be a long way, I think, we need to go.
Aber ich glaube, da haben wir einiges vor uns.
But it's a nice study.
Aber das ist ein schönes Studium.
And I think it's also an important study.
Und ich glaube wohl auch ein wichtiges Studium.
And I think so based upon what the Bible says, not upon my own thoughts.
Und darauf basierend, was das Bibel uns lehrt und nicht, weil ich es nun mal nur so denke.
Because when we go to Ezekiel 40,
Denn wenn wir jetzt in unseren Bibeln zu Hesekiel Kapitel 40 gehen,
and let's begin in verse 1.
und wir fangen in Vers 1 an,
It says, in the 25th year of our captivity, in the beginning of the year, in the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after that the city was smitten, in the selfsame day, the hand of the Lord was upon me and brought me thither. In the visions of God brought he me into the land of Israel, and set me upon a very high mountain, by which was the frame of a city on the south. And he brought me thither, and behold, there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of brass, with a line of flax in his hand and a measuring reed, and he stood in the gate. Okay, so according to verse 3,
Also gemäß Vers 3
or maybe even in verse 2,
oder
it says
sogar
here,
vielleicht in Vers 2,
it says here, in the visions of God. And this word for visions is Mara. Okay?
und hier diese Vision von Gott, dieses Wort Vision ist der Mara.
And also in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 1, keep your finger here in Ezekiel 40.
So halt den Platz hier und geht auch zum Kapitel 1 in Hesekiel.
Let's go to Ezekiel 1 verse 1.
Kapitel 1, Vers 1.
It says, now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. Okay, so what did Ezekiel see on the 5th day of the 4th month?
So, was sah Hesekiel am 5. Tag des 4. Monats?
Yes, he saw the same visions of God, right?
Er sah dieselbe Vision von Gott.
And this vision, word visions is also Mara.
Und diese Wort hier, Kapitel 1, Vers 1, Vision ist auch Mara.
Okay, and then when we go back to Ezekiel 40,
So, zurück zu Hesekiel 40,
verse 3,
Vers 3.
it says, and he brought me thither, and behold, there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of brass. So what does he see?
Was sieht er?
He sees the appearance, right?
Er sieht diese Erscheinung.
So we understand on our line on the 5th day of the 4th month, this is the appearance, right?
Wir verstehen auf unserer Linie, 5. Tag des 4. Monats, da markieren wir die Erscheinung.
Okay, so, and maybe just draw a line, just a bit for eyes, okay. Okay, so this is where the appearance begins.
Hier ist, wo die Erscheinung fängt an.
Okay, and then we have these 7 thunders.
Dann haben wir diese 7 Donner hier.
Okay, which is the light and the appearance, exceeding bright light, or here, that's basically the line of the 10,
Also
right?
das ist das Linie der 10, das Licht, das äußerst helles Licht. Für die erste Gruppe.
Right. So, and then it says here in verse 3,
Dann sagt es im Vers 3,
so it was like the appearance of a brass,
die Erscheinung von Bronzen,
with a line of flax in his hand and a measuring reed, and he stood in the gate. So what does he have in his hand?
was hat er in seiner Hand?
Measuring reed, right?
Also ein Maßrute.
So, and obviously what do you do with a measuring reed?
Und was tust du mit einer Maßrute?
Yes, you measure, right?
Also du misst.
So just keep your finger here, let's remind ourselves, let's go quickly to Zechariah chapter 2.
Also haltet den Platz hier und geht schnell zu Zechariah Kapitel 2.
Zechariah 2, this was at the end of the 70 years, right?
Zechariah 2, das war am Ende der 70 Jahre.
Yes.
Amen.
And the end of the 70 years marks the beginning of this 10 here,
Und
right?
das Ende von 70 Jahren markiert das Anfang von den 10, von diesen Linie hier.
Okay. And then in verse 1,
Vers 1.
it says here, I lifted up my eyes, and in German it's verse 5, I think.
In Deutsch, glaube ich, ist das Vers 5.
And I lifted up mine eyes, and again, and I looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. So, what is Zechariah seeing here?
So, was sieht Zechariah hier?
Same thing, right?
Dasselbe.
So, this is what we understand. This is this measuring work, right, that is going forth here.
Das ist das, was wir verstehen. Das ist hier diese Ermessenswerk, der hier vorangeht.
Werk des Messens.
Werk des Messens.
Messwerk.
You know, when you take a ruler and look at it, it has little, you know, when you take the centimeters, it has higher lines and small lines. It's like the seven thunders, it's like a ruler, right?
Das ist auch interessant, wenn du so eine
Lineal.
ein Lineal nimmst, also der 1 cm oder der 0 ist eine große Linie und der 5 mm ist eine kleine Linie und es sieht so aus wie der Linie.
Okay, and just one final witness to this. Let's go to Revelation chapter 11.
Also ein weiteres Zeugnis dazu, gehen wir zur Offenbarung Kapitel 11.
And let's read verse 1.
Wir lesen Vers 1.
And it says, And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood standing, rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship them. So, historically, what was the time that John was to measure?
So historisch, was war der Zeit, die Johannes messen sollte?
46.
46 years, right?
46
So it's
Jahre.
the same thing here that
The
he's...
time of the end.
Yes,
Das ist dasselbe Ding hier, vom Zeit des Endes bis zu 1844.
we can clearly see this is now a work of measuring because the judgment is set and the books are opened.
Man
Right?
kann sehen, dass das eine Zeit des Messens ist, weil die Gericht wird aufgestellt, die Bücher sind geöffnet.
Okay, so you are to measure the temple, you are to measure Jerusalem, and here also when we go back to Ezekiel 40,
So, du sollst den Tempel messen, du sollst Jerusalem messen. Und wenn wir hier zurück zu Hesekiel 40 gehen,
it's also a measuring of the temple now.
das hier ist auch ein
Messen
Ermessen oder Messens des Tempels.
and messen. Mhm.
Ermessen.
Without air. Ein Messen.
Ein Messen des Tempels. Okay, danke.
Okay, so let's just continue in verse 4.
So, und jetzt lesen wir weiter von Vers 4,
Ezekiel 40, verse 4.
Kapitel 40, Vers 4.
And the man said unto me, Son of man, behold with thine eyes, and hear with thine ears, and set thine heart upon all that I shall show thee, for to the intent that I might show them unto thee, art thou brought hither. Declare all that thou seest to the house of Israel. So what is this a parallel to?
So, zu was ist das hier ein Parallel?
Verse 4.
Vers 4.
What is he to do?
Was soll er tun?
Yes, what you see, write in a book and send unto the churches, right?
Das, was du siehst, schreib nieder und sende es an die Gemeinde.
Okay, it's just like John, who was commanded everything you see, write in this book and then send to the churches, right?
Das war wie Johannes, alles was du siehst oder hörst, schreib nieder und sende an die Gemeinde.
Okay. Yes?
Amen.
Everybody sees this? Okay. Verse 5.
Vers 5.
And behold, a wall on the outside of the house round about, and in the man's hand a measuring reed of 6 cubits long, by the cubit and a handbreadth. So he measured the breadth of the building 1 reed, and the height 1 reed. So he's now measuring the building here, right?
So messt der Gebäude.
Then came he unto the gate which looketh toward the east, and went up to the stairs thereof, and measured the threshold of the gate, which was 1 reed broad, and the other threshold of the gate, which was 1 reed broad. Okay, so he's now measuring the stairs here and all these things.
Messt die Treppen oder das Eingang hier.
Okay, and then when you just go on reading the next verses
Wenn du liest die folgenden Versen weiter
in the following chapters,
und die folgenden Kapiteln,
chapter 40, chapter 41 and chapter 42,
also Kapitel 40, 41, 42,
it's all about measuring certain things of this temple. Okay.
ist alles nur Maßeinheiten, das Messen, verschiedene Sachen des Tempels.
Okay, and we studied out, right? We are the temple, but specifically it speaks about our heart. Okay.
Wir haben das bereits studiert, also es spricht über das Tempel, also wir sind das Tempel, aber es spricht ganz besonders über unseren
So
Herzen.
God is exactly measuring our heart. Okay, it must be like this and this and this and this. Okay.
So Gott misst unserem Herzen ganz genau und es sollte so sein und so sein und so sein und so
And
weiter.
obviously, everything has some application to our heart, and He's exactly measuring. Do you fulfill this? Do you fulfill that? Do you fulfill this?
Und natürlich all diese verschiedenen Maßnahmen hier, das hat alles einen Bezug auf unserem Herzen. Erfüllst du dies, erfüllst du jenes, erfüllst du das.
But it's also a judgment, so it's like He's examining every recess of your heart to see if there's anything that's not perfect in there.
Aber es ist auch ein Gericht, der untersucht jeder Kammerlein unseres Herzens, um zu sehen, ob es irgendetwas, was da nicht perfekt ist.
Okay, so, and we must understand, right? This is going on since we gave the prediction.
Und wir müssen verstehen, dass dies findet gerade statt, seitdem, dass wir die Vorhersage kundgegeben haben.
Every day, the Lord sets this ruler upon our heart and looks according to this pattern. Are we fitting this pattern or not?
So,
Okay.
jeden Tag legt der Herr diese Lineal in unserem Herzen und stellt die Frage, ob wir nun mal diesen Muster gerecht sind oder ähnlich sind oder genau sind oder nicht.
Okay, and therefore it's very important that we understand this, right?
Und deswegen ist es sehr wichtig, dass wir dies verstehen
That
können.
we understand whether we would fulfill the criterion or not. Okay.
Dass wir verstehen, ob wir nun mal die Voraussetzungen erfüllen oder nicht.
Okay, so and then we also looked at this. Finally, when you pass this test of measuring,
Und dann haben wir auch angeschaut, wenn du letztendlich diesen Test des Messens gepasst
then
hast,
let's go to chapter 43 and verse 10,
dann im Kapitel 43 und Vers 10,
because then you have now this perfect pattern, right? You're now like God wants you to be.
dann hast du diese perfekte Muster, du bist genauso, wie Gott dir haben möchte.
God sends you forth, right, to
Dann-
declare all what you have seen to the house of Israel.
Dann, Gott sendet dich fort, dass du alles kundgibst zum Haus Israel, was du gesehen hast.
And then it says in verse 10 here,
Vers 10 sagt es hier,
Thou son of man, show the house to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities and let them measure the pattern. Okay. So as soon as they see now this perfect pattern, what will be the reaction?
sobald dass sie diesen perfekten Muster sehen, was wäre denn deren Reaktion?
Woe is me.
Yes, woe is me.
Wer
Right?
ist mir?
They're ashamed of their iniquities.
Die werden sich wegen ihrer Missetaten beschämen.
But the same reaction should also come upon us as soon as we understand this pattern, right?
Aber sobald, dass wir diesen Mustern in diesen Kapiteln eben selbst verstehen, das wäre auch unsere Reaktion werden.
Okay. And that's why we should really strive to understand what the Lord wants to teach us here, that we can then can have this experience.
Und deswegen sollen wir streben, das zu verstehen, was der Herr uns hier zeigen möchte, dann können wir eben diese Erfahrung selbst haben.
Because also last time we looked at the sanctuary, right? It was this beautiful, holy place, right?
Das letzte Mal, dass wir diese Heiligtum angeschaut haben, ist dieser wunderschöne heilige Ort.
It's illustrating how our heart should be.
Und das stellt dar, wie unserem Herzen sein sollte.
Without any particle of dust in there, and a holy place for God's presence to dwell in.
Also ein heiliger Ort, ohne sogar ein Fleck Staub da drin, ein heiliger Ort, wo Gottes Gegenwart weilen kann.
Where everything is out of pure gold and shining with these wonderful colors and lightened with a candle.
So alles aus perfektem und purem Gold ist, reinem Gold ist und es leuchtet all diese wunderschönen Farben her mit der Leuchte.
So it's a beautiful illustration how the Lord wants to make our heart.
Eine wunderschöne Darstellung, wie der Herr unserem Herzen machen möchte.
Okay, so, but I think in order to understand this temple in Ezekiel 40, we first need to understand this more simple temple, this tabernacle.
Aber um diesen Tempel in Hesekiel 40 und so weiter verstehen zu können, wir müssen zuerst besser diesen Stiftshütte, diese einfache oder diese Muster des Tempels besser verstehen.
And then also Solomon's temple.
Und danach den Tempel von Salomo.
And this would probably give us a better structure to really understand what's going on in Ezekiel 40.
Und das werde uns höchstwahrscheinlich eine viel bessere Struktur geben, dass wir das in Hesekiel 40 und so weiter besser zu verstehen.
Amen?
Amen.
Okay. So let's go then to Exodus 26.
So lasst uns denn zur 2. Buch Mose 26 gehen.
And you will see now that we will We will read this whole chapter now.
Und jetzt werden wir diese ganze Kapitel durchlesen.
And we'll see how far we come. We will try now to look at these different aspects that are laid out here.
Und wir werden sehen, wie weit wir kommen werden. Wir werden alle verschiedenen Aspekte, was hier drin niedergeschrieben ist, anschauen.
And then we try to basically build this sanctuary. Okay?
Und wir werden versuchen, im Grunde das Heiligtum aufzubauen.
And yes, and we'll see how far we get today.
Und wie gesagt, wir werden sehen, wie weit wir heute kommen werden.
Okay, so let's begin with 3 verses each.
So lasst uns diesen Kapitel lesen. Also wir werden 3 Versen jeweils lesen.
Okay, I will start and then you can continue. It says, "Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them. The length of one curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. And every one of the curtains shall have one measure. The 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another, and other 5 curtains shall be coupled one to another." So it begins here with speaking about these curtains that were placed on the top of the sanctuary.
So,
Okay?
es fängt hier an, über diese Vorhänge die Rede, die über den Heiligtum drüber gelegt
It was
wird,
like the roof of the sanctuary.
wie der Deckel.
Okay. So, and it sounds a little bit complicated sometimes, but we will later go step by step through all these verses.
Es hört sich manchmal ein bisschen kompliziert an, aber wir werden langsam Schritt für Schritt durchgehen.
And thou shalt make loops of blue upon the edge of the one curtain from the selvage and the coupling, and likewise shalt thou make in the uttermost edge of another curtain in the coupling of the second. 50 loops shalt thou make in the one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make in the edge of the curtain that is in the coupling of the second, that the loops may take hold one of another. Thou shalt make 50 taches of gold, and couple the curtains together with the taches, and it shall be one tabernacle.
Just go on. And thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to be a covering upon the tabernacle. 11 curtains shalt thou make. The length of one curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of the curtain 4 cubits. And the 11 curtains shall be all of one measure. And thou shalt couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and shalt double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle.
And thou shalt make 50 loops on the edge of the one curtain that is outmost in the coupling, and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which coupleth the second. And thou shalt make 50 touches of brass, and put the touches into the loops, and couple the 10 together, that it may be one. And the remnant that remaineth of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remaineth, shall hang over the backside of the tabernacle.
And a cubit on the one side, and a cubit on the other side, of that which remaineth in the length of the curtains of the tent, it shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side, to cover it. And thou shalt make a covering for the tent of rams, skins dyed red, and covering above a badger's skins. And thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood standing up.
10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the breadth of one board. 2 tenons shall there be in one board, set in order one against another. Thus shalt thou make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards on the south side, the south wall.
And thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle on the north side there shall be 20 boards. And there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board.
And for the sides of the tabernacle westward thou shalt make 6 boards, and 2 boards shalt thou make for the corners of the tabernacle on the 2 sides, and they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it unto one ring. Thus shall it be for them both. They shall be for the 2 corners.
And they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. Thou shalt make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the side of the tabernacle, for the 2 sides westward.
And the middle bar in the midst of the boards shall reach from end to end. And thou shalt overlay the boards with gold, and make them rings of gold for places for the bars. And thou shalt overlay the bars with gold. And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was shewed thee in the mount.
And thou shalt make a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work, with cherubim shall it be made. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold upon 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the taches, that thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testimony. And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy.
And thou shalt set the table without the veil, and the candlestick over against the table on the side of the tabernacle toward the south. And thou shalt put the table on the north side. And thou shalt make an hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, wrought with needlework. And thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold. And thou shalt cast 5 sockets of brass for them. Okay, so that's now much information, right?
Das ist viel Information.
Okay, so now let's begin maybe in verse 15.
So lasst uns Vers 15 anfangen.
Because verse 15 speaks now about here this temple building.
So
Okay,
Vers 15 spricht hier über diesen Tempelgebäude.
okay. And that says, and thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood standing up. Okay, so this should be a board. Okay,
So, das sollte ein Brett sein.
okay, and they were standing up.
Und die
Okay.
waren hochrecht.
Now verse 16.
Vers 16.
10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the breadth of one board. So what were the measurements of one board?
So, was war die Maßeinheiten eines Bretts?
10 by 1.5.
Yes. Okay.
10 mal 1,5.
So in this direction, right, were 10 cubits.
So, da waren 10 Ellen.
Cubit, I think, is a Zoll.
Zoll.
Hier steht L.
No, L.
Aber es ist noch so royal.
Inches is Zoll.
Ja, also 10 Ellen.
Yeah. 10 L, okay. So, and the breadth is 1.5.
Und
Okay.
die Breite ist 1,5.
Okay. And then it says here, 2 tenons, verse 17.
Vers 17.
2 tenons shall there be in one board, set in order one against another. Thou shalt make for all the boards of the tabernacle. Okay, what are tenons?
So, was sind Tenons? Also Fügen, glaube ich.
Zapfen in German.
Zapfen.
Steht doch.
Okay.
Ist das gute Wetter?
No idea.
Hands.
Okay.
Steht auch noch.
Okay, so as I understand, that's these things here at the bottom, like Zapfen or tenon is something where you stick something in. Okay.
Also, so wie ich das verstehe, Zapfen ist irgendetwas, wie ich hier abgebildet habe, unten. Es ist irgendetwas, was in irgendetwas hineinpasst.
Okay, because at the bottom there were these sockets to be placed, okay?
Am Fuß gab es diese silberne, also Sockeln,
Ja.
worin die Bretter gesetzt werden sollten.
Okay, and this is what we can read in verse 19.
Das können wir in Vers 19 lesen.
It says here, and thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons. Okay, so the 2 sockets for each board under the 2 tenons.
So
Okay,
die 2 Sockeln unter jedem Brett für die 2 Zapfen.
so I'm not the best artist, so I don't know, like a socket would be something like this, and
tenon is okay. Yes, a tenon.
this would then fit in here. The socket would be placed here, and then you have the second socket here. Okay.
Also, das ist so, dass das Brett hineinpasst in den Fuß.
Okay. So, and it says here, it's 20 boards.
Und es sagt hier 20 Bretter.
Because this we have from verse 18. We
Von
jump
Vers
over 18.
18.
It says here, and thou shalt make the boards for the tabernacle 20 boards on the south side southward. Okay. So on the south side, this is here south, right?
Auf den Südseiten, das ist hier entlang,
Were to be placed 20 boards.
soll
Okay.
20 von diesen Brettern draus
Okay.
bestehen.
And therefore, how long is therefore this south
So-
side?
So, wie lange ist diesen Südseite?
Yes, 30
30 Ellen.
30 cubits.
30 Ellen.
Okay. So 20 times 1.5. Okay.
20 mal 1,5.
Well,
Okay.
I think the boards, they slot together, you know, like they're standing up, they slot together this way. So the 2 tenons would be in the side and there'll be a little hole in the side of the other one and they slot together.
I also thought this, but it says here in verse 19, right?
Also das habe ich auch gedacht, aber es sagt hier im Vers 19,
And thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons.
Okay.
Okay, so the tenons are for the sockets.
so diese 2 Tenons, was what again?
Zapfen.
Zapfen sind für den
Okay.
Sockel hier.
Yes, yeah.
So, but the boards, we will see, they were also connected with each other, as we will see a little bit later.
Aber die Brettern werden wir sehen, die sind auch miteinander verbunden.
Okay, so verse 19, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And then verse 20,
Vers 20.
and for the second side of the tabernacle on the north side there shall be 20 boards. So same here, right?
Also wieder genau dasselbe für den Nordseite.
Okay, it's also 20 boards,
Es sind auch 20 Brettern.
so it's also 30 cubits.
Und es ist auch 30 Ellen lang.
Okay, so this is 20 boards.
20 Bretter.
Okay. Verse 21.
Vers 21.
And there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under one board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward, thou shalt make 6 boards. So westward would be this direction, right?
Also westwärts wäre diese Seite hier sein.
Okay, and how many boards does it say here?
Wie viele Brettern sagt es?
6 boards.
6.
Okay. But then it goes on to say,
Aber dann sagt es weiter,
verse 23,
Vers 23.
and 2 boards shalt thou make for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. So, how many boards therefore in total?
So wie viele Brettern insgesamt?
8.
8.
Okay. So you have, therefore, what is the measurement for this side?
So was ist denn der Maßeinheit für diese Seite?
Yes, 12. Right?
12 Ellen.
So it's 8 boards.
Das sind 8 Bretter
In total.
insgesamt.
Okay. And because when we go on to see, read, we'll see this more fully.
Wenn wir weiterlesen, werden wir das besser verstehen.
Verse 24.
Vers 24.
And they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it unto one ring. Thus shall it be for them both. They shall be for the two corners. And they shall be 8 boards. So here it says now 8 boards, right?
Vers 25 sagt 8 Bretter.
And they shall be 8 boards in their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under one board and 2 sockets under another board. Okay. And now verse 26.
26.
And thou shalt make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars of the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the side of the tabernacle for the 2 sides westward. Okay, so what is now also placed on these boards?
So, was ist denn auch noch über diesen Brettern? Diese Riegel.
Yes. Okay, 5 bars.
Riegeln. 5 Riegel.
Okay. So you must imagine you have now 20 boards side by side.
Das musst du vorstellen, 20 Brettern, jeder nebeneinander.
And here also 20 boards side by side.
Und dann auch hier oben dasselbe.
And here 8 boards
Und
side by
hier
side.
8 Bretter.
Right? And now, here for instance, you had now, in this dimension, you had now 4 bars, 5 bars going along one side.
Du hast hier 5 Brettern, die entlang gehen, oder 5 Riegeln.
Here the same and here the same. Okay.
Also hier dasselbe und hier dasselbe.
Everybody can imagine how it would look like.
Kann jeder sich vorstellen, wie das so aussehen wird?
Okay, let's just say this whiteboard would be this one side here. Okay.
So diese Tafel hier wäre diese eine Seite hier.
Okay. So let's divide this imaginary. Let's make an imaginary division of this whiteboard into 20 pieces. Okay.
Wir stellen uns vor, dass diese Tafel aus 20 Stücke zusammengestellt ist.
Okay. Then you had 5 bars going along these 20 boards. Okay.
Dann hast du 5 Riegeln, die diese ganze 20 Brettern entlang gehen.
Okay. This would be a bar. Okay.
Das wäre dann ein Riegel.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
They are going to the ring.
Yes. Yes. So there were actually 5 rings on here. Okay.
Es gab 5 Ringen.
So I don't know how to illustrate it. No. Yeah. So in this sense, there were 5 rings. And we will see this a little bit further down. And these staves or these bars, they were basically going through these 5 rings
Diese
on
Riegel
each of these boards. Okay?
sind durch alle Ringe von diesen Brettern gegangen.
Can you imagine this?
Yes, Lawrence.
Yeah. Okay. So in this way, these boards would be connected through these bars. Okay.
In diesem Sinne, diese Brettern werden zusammengestellt mit diesen Riegeln.
Okay. Because let's just continue. Okay.
Lass uns fortsetzen.
Verse 28.
Vers 28.
And the middle bar in the midst of the boards shall reach from end to end. And thou shalt overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold for places for the bars. And thou shalt overlay the bars with gold. So here you have it, right, in verse 29.
Vers 29.
It says here, and thou shalt overlay the boards with gold. So the boards were overlaid with gold.
Also die
Okay.
Brettern sind mit Gold überzogen.
Yes. And make their rings of gold for places for the bars.
Und macht Ringe aus Gold für die Riegel.
Yes. So there, on these boards were made rings for the bars.
So, auf diesen Brettern waren Ringe für den Riegel.
Yes. Okay. And through these rings, the bars were to be placed.
Und durch diese Ringe, die Riegel sollten gefügt werden.
Maybe I have a picture here in my study Bible. I can just post it in the Telegram group, that you have a little visual illustration how it looks like. Let me quickly post this. mean, on this illustration, I think this is not fully correct, but it doesn't matter.
It has only 4, right?
Yes. Okay. Should be now in the live stream group.
Ein Foto in der Livestream-Gruppe jetzt.
Okay, so if you look at this illustration at the top one,
Wenn du diese Darstellung ganz oben anschaust,
okay, you see these bars, right, going there on the side.
kannst
Okay.
diese Riegeln, die an der Seite entlang gehen.
And they are through the rings.
Und die sind durch die Ringe.
Yes? But they only somehow, for whatever reason, put only 4 in here.
Aber aus welchem Grund auch immer, die haben nur 4 hier abgebildet
So,
anstelle von 5.
But there were 5, right?
Aber es steht, dass es 5 gab.
Okay. So I hope everybody has now a better visual illustration of it.
Ich hoffe, dass jeder
Genau.
eine bessere Sicht davon hat.
I'm not sure of the technique, but it will be in our time, it will be one above, one underneath, I mean the beginning and the end of the board, one in the middle, and then the other 2. Because
Yes.
in verse 28 it says, in the middle bar,
Mhm.
in the midst of the board.
Yes.
So one should be in the middle
Yes.
of the board and the other.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
There's a middle
and,
one.
And one, I mean.
Yes. Yes, I mean, but somehow they didn't put it at the very top and they didn't also
Yeah.
put one at the very bottom, right?
Also aus irgendwelchem Grund hier haben sie auch nicht eine ganz oben und eine ganz unten gemacht.
Okay. So that's somehow false what they depicted here. Okay.
Also das Bild hier ist nicht ganz richtig, aber dennoch ist es nur uns eine Idee zu geben.
But still, you can see, yeah, you have these 20 boards side by side, and at the bottom you see these silver sockets, right?
Aber du kannst sehen, diese 20 Brettern Seite an Seite und ganz unten die silberne Sockeln oder Füße.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, and we will come back to this picture.
Auf diesem Bild werden wir zurückkommen.
But let's go back to our Bibles, to Exodus 26.
Lass uns zurück zu unserem Bibel. 2. Buch Mose 26.
All right. So we read until verse 29.
Bis Vers 29 haben wir bereits gelesen.
Okay. Now let's continue with verse 30.
Jetzt Vers 30.
And we in verse 29 it also says everything was overlaid with gold, right?
Vers 29, alles war mit Gold überzogen.
The boards were overlaid with gold, the rings were of gold, and the bars were also overlaid with gold.
Die Brettern, die Ringe und auch den Riegeln waren alles mit Gold überzogen.
Okay. So now verse 30.
Vers 30.
And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was shewed thee in the mount. And thou shalt make a veil of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work, with cherubim shall it be made. So that's now the veil of the most holy place, right?
Das beschreibt den Vorhang des Allerheiligsten.
Yes.
Amen.
Because it goes on to say,
Denn es sagt weiter,
and thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood, overlaid with gold. The hooks shall be of gold, and upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the taches, that thou mayest bring in hither within the veil the ark of the testimony. And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy. Okay, so that's the veil that divides the holy place and the most holy place.
der
Okay,
Vorhang, der das Heiligste und Allerheiligste trennt.
okay.
Vers
So
33.
you had this veil here,
Es gab diesen Vorhang hier
and it was upon what?
und es war auf was?
It hung upon what?
Es war von was gespannt?
According to verse 32.
Gemäß Vers 32.
Yes, 4 pillars, right?
2 Pfosten oder
No,
2
4.
Säulen.
4.
Was habe ich gesagt?
2.
Verzeihung, 4 Säulen. Sorry.
Yes. And so 4 pillars, right?
4 Säulen.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And upon what kind of sockets were they to be placed?
Und auf was für Sockeln sollen
Silber.
sie
Silver.
gestellt werden?
Okay.
Aus Silber.
Okay, so this were silver sockets. Okay.
So silberner Sockel.
Just like here, the boards were also silver sockets, right?
Also hier die Bretter hatten auch silberner Sockel.
Okay. So now let's continue, verse 34
Vers 34
to 37.
bis 37.
And thou shalt put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. And thou shalt set the table without the veil, and the candlestick over against the table on the side of the tabernacle toward the south. So here we see, right, now he says, put this in the most holy place, put this ark in place.
So, ihr seid hier in der Allerheiligste, stellt die Arche auf. Im Bundeslade.
Yes. And then it says, without the veil in verse 35.
Dann
Okay.
sagt es außerhalb des Vorhangs.
So this brings us in that side,
So,
right?
das bringt uns auf diese Seite.
Okay, and it says here, thou shalt set the table without the veil, that's the table of showbread,
Also der Tisch außerhalb des Vorhangs, das ist der Tisch des Schaubrotes.
and the candlestick over against the table. So on the opposite side of the table was the candlestick, right?
Der Tisch und auf der anderen Seite der Leuchter.
Toward the south. So
Im Süden hin.
so on the south side was the candlestick,
So auf der Südseite gab es der Leuchter.
and therefore the table was here.
Und deswegen der Tisch war hier.
Okay, with the two piles of bread.
Und zwei
Okay.
Brothaufen.
Now let's continue. And thou shalt put the table on the north side. So here we can see. Okay, the table was on the north, the candlestick on the south.
Tisch auf dem Norden, Leuchter auf dem Süden.
Verse 36.
36.
And thou shalt make an hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen wrought with needlework. So this is now the hanging for the tabernacle, right?
So, das spricht hier über den Vorhang für den Stiftshütte hier vorne.
Okay. And it says here, and thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold, and thou shalt cast 5 sockets of brass for them. Okay. So how many pillars?
So, wie viele Säulen?
Those were 5, right?
5 Säulen.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And but what kind of sockets?
Aber was für Säulen?
Bronze.
Brass, right?
Aus Bronze.
Okay, so brass sockets. And we understand what was always the difference here. All these items in the courtyard were always made out of brass.
All diese Gegenstände im Vorhof waren alle aus Bronze gemacht.
Okay, and then we understand here would come now the laver and the altar of sacrifice,
Wir
right?
verstehen, dass hier den Waschbecken sein würde und dann das Brandopferaltar.
Okay, so far so good. Now let's begin in verse 1.
So, jetzt gehen wir zurück zu Vers 1.
Now we come to this to these curtains that were the roof of the tabernacle.
So, jetzt kommen wir zu diesen Vorhänge, die letztendlich den Dach von der Stiftshütte ausmachten.
Okay, so let's begin in verse 1.
Vers 1.
Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them. So how many curtains?
So, wie viele Vorhänge?
10, right?
10.
So here you have 10 times, okay?
10 Mal.
And you have the colors, right? Blue, fine twined linen, blue, purple, scarlet.
Also die verschiedenen Farben, Also gewebtes Leinwand, blau, purpur und scharlach.
And cherubims on it.
Und Cherubim darauf abgebildet.
And then verse 2.
Dann Vers 2.
And the length of one curtain shall be 8 and 20 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. And every one of the curtains shall have one measure. Okay, so what was the length and what was the breadth of
Was
these
war der
curtains?
Länge und der Breite von diesen Vorhängen?
7 times the breadth of the length.
Yes, okay, yes, interesting.
So, der Länge ist siebenfach der Breite.
Okay, but give me the measurements.
Aber die Maße,
28.
Okay, yeah, the length was 28,
also die
right?
Länge war 28.
So 28, and the breadth was 4. Okay.
Die Breite war 4.
Okay, and basically you had 10 times these curtains, okay?
Und im Grunde hat man 10-mal diese Vorhänge.
Okay, and now it goes on to say,
Und jetzt sagt es weiter,
verse 3,
Vers 3.
the 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another, and other 5 curtains shall be coupled one to another. So what were they to do
So, was sollen sie
with
tun?
these 10 curtains?
Diese 10 Vorhänge?
5 together.
Yes, so they should take 5 of those, right,
Sie sollen 5 von diese
and couple them together.
und binde sie zusammen.
Okay, so on these sides they were to be basically coupled together. Okay.
So, diese Seiten sollen zusammengehalten irgendwie.
Okay, and how was it to be done? Let's read.
Und wie sollten wir das tun?
Verse 4.
Vers 4.
And thou shalt make loops of blue upon the edge of the one curtain from the selvage in the coupling, and likewise shalt thou make in the uttermost edge of another curtain in the coupling of the second. So what was to be put in there?
So, was sollte da reingelegt, gemacht?
Yes, loops, right?
Also Lupen,
Schleifen.
Schleifen.
Okay, and in verse 5 it says,
Vers 5 sagt es,
50 loops shalt thou make in the one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make in the edge of the curtain that is in the coupling of the second, that the loops may take hold one of another. So how were they to be put together?
so wie sollten sie zusammengebracht werden?
50 goldene Klammern.
This we're not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
We're in verse 5.
Vers
Okay.
5.
The loops, right?
So, diese Schleifen.
Okay, and how many loops?
Wie viele Schleifen?
50 loops.
50
Okay.
Schleifen.
So on this side, for instance, were 50 loops.
So, auf dieser Seite zum Beispiel gab es 50 Schleifen.
And if I understand correctly, on this other side there were also 50 loops and they were bound together.
Wenn ich
Okay.
das richtig verstehe, es gab auf dieser Seite auch 50 Schleifen und die waren dann
Yeah.
zusammengebunden.
And then you had the third curtain, also 50 loops here and 50 loops there, and they were bound together.
Also
Okay.
der dritte und der vierte und fünfte und die hatten auch 50 hier und 50 da zusammengebunden und so weiter.
Okay. So 50 loops here.
50,
I don't draw this now because it would be too much. Okay.
also ich werde sie nicht anzeichnen, das wäre zu viel.
So 50 loops here and 50 loops there. Okay. They were joined together. Alright. So now let's go to verse 6.
Vers 6.
And thou shalt make 50 taches of gold, and couple the curtains together with the taches, and it shall be one tabernacle. Okay, so what were they to do?
So, was sollten sie tun?
Now you can give your answer.
Jetzt kann da
50 goldene
Antwort
Klammern.
geben.
und dann
Yes, okay.
zusammen.
So they were not only to loop them together, but also with these taches they were to make them hold. Okay?
Also sie sollten sie nicht nur zusammenbinden, sondern auch diesen Klammern benutzen. I think, Lawrence, a loop is like a little ring out of cloth. And through these touches, you take it, this ring to that ring on the other side. It holds it together. You don't tie them together and then
Yes.
clamp them together.
Okay, maybe But in German it translates schleifen, so I will always.
Yeah, but
It's the same.
no, it's not. A loop is
Ah, okay,
a loop.
maybe. Yeah, okay.
Yes, but
Yes,
you
yes.
can-
Okay, okay. I
you
get
can-
this. Yes.
You can say
You're
it
probably right.
in German.
Yes. Okay, they're like holes, and you put these
No,
touches.
Öse.
Yes,
Öse,
Öse.
yes.
That's would be the
Yeah.
right word.
Öse?
Yes.
Yeah, Öse
Okay.
there's in Deutsch.
Okay. Yes, I get that. Yes. Okay, everybody understands.
Wenn ihr das versteht.
Like
Ein Loch.
like yes.
Yes.
No,
Like
Umfasst.
I think-
Yes.
so wie ich
similar
das verstehe,
like this here.
so wie ich das verstehe, ist, du hast ein Stück Stoff und du nähst so aus, was es sagt, diesen Blau, so ein Stück Stricke
Yes.
in einen Kreis, so 50 hier angenäht und 50 hier angenäht und durch diese goldenen Teile, du huckst es an diese Seite und huckst es an der
Auch
anderen
dann
Seite.
schon schleift.
Ja.
Kann man sagen. auf jeden
Yes, yes,
Fall.
yes. It's not false to say this. Yes, I totally agree with that. Yes. Okay, so so you had 50 loops and you had 50 touches, right?
So 50 Schleifen und 50 Klammern.
Okay, and they basically were
Das Blau und Purpur auch.
holding them together.
Und dies hatten die beiden Vorhängen zusammengehalten.
Okay, and it says here in verse 6, when you
Verse
bring
6.
them all together, right, it shall be one tabernacle.
Und
Okay.
es sagt hier, wenn sie alle zusammenbringen, es soll ein Stiftshütte sein.
Okay, so now let's just count this, okay?
So lasst uns dies zählen.
So if you have 10 of them,
Wenn du 10 davon hast,
10 times 4 is how many cubits?
10 mal 4 ist wie viel Ellen?
40.
40.
Okay, but we see the length of it was 30 cubits,
Aber
right?
hier können wir sehen, die Länge war 30 Ellen.
So if you put this on top, now just imagine it on this dimension, okay? You have now 20 boards,
Also hier hast du 20 Brettern lang
so you put it on top.
und du legst es da drüber.
So now you have how many cubits left?
So wie viele Ellen hast du übrig? 10.
10 cubits, right?
10 übrig.
But
Ja,
how
ja.
high were these boards?
Aber wie hoch waren diesen Brettern? 10 Ellen.
10, right? So therefore this, what would hang over,
Yes.
would come down, would basically come down to almost to the ground,
Also
right?
diese Drüberhangsel wird schon fast zum Boden kommen.
And because it was 10 over, and then if it would go straight down, it would touch the ground, but probably would be a little angle, so it would be almost the ground, right?
Also es wird fast den Boden treffen.
You also have the sockets
Das
here.
ist auch den Söchel.
Oh, it's two sides.
Hmm?
If you have two sides, if it's hanging
Und
over.
das,
Yes,
ist doch
but-
über,
but-
das spricht über den Hintern.
Yes, it doesn't hang over here, it just
Ah.
hangs.
So alles hängt hinten drüber. Hier nicht, jetzt eigenen Vorhang.
Okay, yes. Okay, so, alright. And I can also send you a picture. Maybe a little bit, also a visual illustration of this.
So take a look what Stefan posted.
Äh,
About the loop.
Yes. Stefan Öse. Yes. But Schleife is also,
Das kannst du auch
yes,
sagen.
because it's this Stoff Schleife. Yeah. For me, it was just Schleife. I had this Schleife in my mind, but you can also say Schleife to this type of Öse. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's maybe not the best quality picture. Okay, but
Immerhin mal
the first one, the left one. Okay,
Also die ganz links.
and maybe I try to make a new one with a bit better resolution.
That's fine.
The first one is zoomed in a little bit. So if you look at this,
Wenn du dies anschaust,
you can see, right, you have all these, you can actually count it, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you see after the fifth there's like this extra work where they bound together these with the other 5 curtains, right?
Yes. What do you mean?
Yeah, because they are laid like this, layers, right? You see it? Okay, and also on this dimension there were 28,
Und
right?
auf diese Maß an der Seite, es gab 28 Ellen.
Yeah. So, but in this, it was only 12 cubits breadth, right?
Aber hier, es gab nur 12 Ellen Breite.
So, therefore, how much is left over of these 28?
Wie viel sind von diesen 28 übrig? 16.
Yes. 16, right?
16.
And but in this case, you have then 8 on this side and 8 on this side.
In diesem
left
Fall
over,
wäre
right?
es 8 übrig auf diese Seite und 8 übrig auf diese Seite.
So it's almost to the ground because the boards were 10 and 10 on
Und es
each
ist
side,
auch
right?
fast bis zum Boden, weil die Brettern waren 10 hoch.
Okay. So and now when we just continue and also over time, but it's not long anymore. We'll just finish this thought off. When we go now to the next curtain,
Also zur nächsten Vorhang,
verse 7,
Vers 7.
it says, "And thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to be a covering upon the tabernacle. 11 curtains shalt thou make." Okay, so of the second curtain was 11 curtains, right?
Und der zweite Vorhang, es gab 11 Stücke
Was made out of goat's hair.
aus Rams, also Ziegenbockshaar.
The length of one curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. So the measurements of this were 30
Der Maßeinheiten von dieser waren 30
and also 4.
und
Right?
auch 4.
Okay, so they were a little bit longer,
Also die waren ein
Okay.
bisschen länger.
so they would be overlapping this first curtain.
Also
on
sie
these
werden
sides. Okay,
diese erste Vorhang ein bisschen länger sein.
and they had basically the same breadth, but one more curtain attached to it because 11 curtains,
Also
right?
die hatten dieselbe Breite, aber anstatt von 10 wie der erste, die hatten 11, also etwas länger.
Okay, but so it would be actually 44 cubits, right?
Das wäre dann nicht 40 lang, sondern 44 lang.
Yes. So, but it says here in verse 9,
Aber in Vers 9 sagt es,
"And thou shalt couple 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves, and shalt double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle." So what was to be done with the 6th curtain?
also was sollte mit dem 6. Vorhang gemacht?
Was to be doubled, right?
Das sollte gedoppelt
So
sein,
it was to be just halved in a sense,
so
right?
aufeinander gefaltet.
At the top. So actually you only had then 42 cubits, right?
Also du hättest dann nur 42.
Okay. So and this is now when you just look at the image, would be basically hanging down here at the end, basically to the bottom. Okay. Okay. So and let's just read the next verses is just the same with these loops and these tatches.
Die nächsten Versen sind dasselbe mit diesen Schleiern und
Schleifen.
Schleifen und Klammern.
Now verse 12.
Vers 12.
"And the remnant that remaineth of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remaineth shall hang over the backside of the tabernacle." Okay, so the half side should then hang over the backside here. Okay.
Also der halbe Seite, der übrig ist, soll hinten
And
drüber
then
hängen.
verse 13, "And a cubit on the one side and a cubit on the other side of that which remaineth in the length of the curtains of the tent, it shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side to cover it." Okay, so because it was not 28 but 30,
Also es war nicht 28 lang, sondern 30.
so you had 1 cubit longer on this side and 1 cubit longer on this side.
Es gab
That's what it just says.
Ein Elle länger auf diese Seite und ein Elle länger auf diese Seite als der erste Vorhang.
And then verse 14.
Vers 14.
"And thou shalt make a covering for the tent of ram's skins dyed red, and a covering above of badger's skins." Okay, so the next 2 curtains were ram's skins dyed red and badger's skins.
So die
Okay.
nächsten 2 lagig von der Decke waren so Dachshäuter rot gefärbt und dann Oh, nee,
No,
andersrum.
rams is Widder.
Witte.
Also Widderhaut, rot gefärbt und dann Dachs.
Badgers is Seehund.
Badger is ein Dachs.
Was sagt das in Deutsch?
Achso, nee, also Seekuh.
Ja, genau.
I know that it says somewhere else sealskins, but that says badgers, and a badger is a Dachs.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Ich habe auch gelesen einmal in der deutschen Sprache.
I often asked
Okay.
what was the difference, because somewhere it says seal skins and somewhere it says badger skins, and I thought to myself, well, a seal and a badger are two different things.
Okay, I will look this up. I always thought it was sealskin, but maybe you're right.
It does say elsewhere seal skins, I know it does.
Ducks?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then I will said it read it wrong. Okay, so badger skin, duck skin.
So
Okay.
Dachshaut.
Okay, so but for these curtains there's no real specification given, at least not here, and they will just be now placed over these two other curtains.
Aber für diese Vorhänge gibt es keine Maßangaben, die werden nur über diesen ersten zwei gelegt.
Maybe there's some measurements somewhere else, but I haven't found them.
Vielleicht gibt es Maßeinheiten dafür woanders, aber ich habe sie bislang nicht gefunden.
No, but they had it from Egypt. Okay. Yes, there are many times sealskin mentioned in Exodus. Okay. Okay, so, alright. Now I hope we all have a better understanding of these measurements of the temple.
Ich
Okay.
hoffe, dass wir ein besseres Verständnis von diesen Maßangaben des Tempels jetzt haben.
And next time we will look at even the court and other things, okay, of this tabernacle.
Und das nächste Mal werden wir den Vorhof und andere Sachen des Stiftshütte anschauen.
And one second, please. And remember, these are all measurements, okay?
Und gedenke, das hier sind alles Maßeinheiten.
And we are to be measured, okay?
Und wir sollten gemessen werden.
So it has something to do with us, with our hearts, and how we are to be squared and fit for the building,
Und
okay?
es hat was mit uns und unserem Herzen zu tun und wie wir behauen und zurechtgeschliffen werden für das Gebäude.
So at the beginning it might be a lot of information. You think, why do I need to know that it's 4 inches and 20 cubits and whatever, okay?
So, am Anfang ist das vielleicht viel Information und man möge sich fragen, warum musste ich das alles wissen, dass das so und so viel Ellen sind und so weiter.
But eventually the Lord will reveal to us what this means and how this applies to us in our heart, okay?
Aber der Herr wird letztendlich uns offenbaren, was all diese verschiedenen Dinge für uns heißen und wie sich das auf unserem Herzen bezieht.
Okay, as soon as you started doing this, I was raking for this booklet because he asked me for it last week and I couldn't find it. And I knew I had it somewhere deep in these old files and I couldn't remember its name and I found it.
Oh, amen.
Oh, praise God.
Now, it's all about the measurements for all of this and it was a group of people, they spent months putting this together.
Also es gibt eine Gruppe von Menschen, die ein kleines Buch über diesen ganzen Maßeinheiten über Monaten, also sehr mühevoll,
It's all
dies zusammengetan haben.
very nice and detailed and everything, so please read it.
Yes,
Go-
amen.
It's all about the 2520, but then it gets to about the sanctuary and how it relates to the 2520 from page 30 forward. There's all diagrams, and we will understand why all these things were put together. It will
Amen.
unlock things for us. I'm telling you,
Praise
I already see things when I'm looking at this. My eyes are lighting up, right? So.
Also diese Buchlein war ursprünglich über die 2520 geschrieben, aber ab Seite 30, das bezieht sich auf dem Heiligtum und all diese verschiedenen Maßeinheiten in Bezug auf die
Just to give
2520.
you one to finish.
Also-
From the gate, right?
Zum Eingang,
If you draw a straight line all the way to the most holy place,
also eine gerade Linie bis zur Allerheiligste,
to the curtain,
bis zur Vorhang des Allerheiligste,
which is the gate,
was der Tor
is
ist,
1260.
das ist
It's the
1260,
time at the end,
Zeit des Endes,
where the judgment is said.
wo das Gericht gestellt ist und die Bücher werden geöffnet,
Okay.
zum Beispiel.
You can see lots of things in here, right?
Also es sind vieles aus den
But
Maßeinheiten, die
it's
wir
about
hier drin
understanding
erkennen.
the measurement of the cubit in inches for each time, because each temple that was measured by a different cubit.
Aber es hängt davon ab, dass wir diese verschiedenen Ellen für die verschiedenen Zeiten in Zoll verstehen, denn es würde für die Stiftshütte, Salomos Tempel und so weiter eine verschiedene Ellenmaßeinheit benutzt.
So you just turn the cubits into inches, it makes biblical numbers and they're all perfect.
Also wenn du
There's
diese
no accident, right?
Ellen in Zoll umwandelst, und diese Maßeinheiten alle in Zoll, dann macht es perfekte biblische Nummern überall und eine perfekte Zusammenstellung.
Yes. So praise the Lord. So this is probably the things we will study the next days then.
Posten das Buch?
I've posted it.
Okay, diese Buchlein ist gepostet und wir sollen das wohl lesen.
Okay, so therefore we know our homeworks. Go and read about the sanctuary,
So,
the
jetzt haben wir
chapters.
unsere
Okay.
Hausaufgaben. Wir sollten jetzt das lesen über all diese verschiedenen Sachen im Tempel. Amen.
Okay, and then let's close with our prayer.
Dann lasst uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde abschließen.